week 16 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few running backs I have as sleepers this week. The first guy, Jaylen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Jaylen Warren, he's been one of the better backups this season and one of the best guys at yards per touch this season as well in the NFL. So the last few games here for him, he didn't get much playing time in week 13 at Atlanta. Carried for 5 yards, 2 catches, 14 yards. Week 14 versus Baltimore, 3 carries, 11 yards, 2 catches, 16 yards. And then week 15 in that one, he had more of an expanded role at Carolina. 11 carries, 38 yards, a touchdown, and a catch for 11 yards. I know Najee Harris this season, he hasn't put up the numbers like he did last season in his rookie year. But right here, it could be a decent 1-2 combo where Warren more of the passing downs running back, and Harris obviously goal line in between the tackles. So this week here in week 16, a good matchup versus the Vegas Raiders. I give up the 4th most fantasy points to running backs on the season. So right now in the deep flex league or 16-team league or something, I think you could use Warren and hope he could get 8 or 9 fantasy points, because the touches have been there for the most part this season, except after coming off injuries in week 13 and 14. And he's available right now in 87% of fantasy leagues. The next running back I have as a sleeper this week is Deion Jackson of the Indianapolis Colts. So right now we know Jonathan Taylor out for the season, and it's pretty much going to be a split with Deion Jackson and Zach Moss, I imagine, with Jackson being the passing downs back. So the last few games here for Jackson, we obviously haven't seen much from. Week 11 versus Philly, a carry, 7 yards, 3 catches in that one. Week 12 versus Pittsburgh, didn't do anything. Week 13 at Dallas, 2 carries, 6 yards. And then last week, obviously in an expanded role, pretty much splitting with Moss. 13 carries, 55 yards, a catch for 1 yard touchdown and a fumble loss. So week 16, a good matchup on paper for running backs versus the Chargers. I give up the 6th most fantasy points to running backs on the season here. So right now, this is a home game, an indoor game, which is great as well, because a lot, obviously, of these games this week is going to have bad weather in the outdoor game. So right now, Monday Night Football, I think Jackson is a flex option in deeper leagues or even 12-team deep leagues with multiple positions. Is a guy you could use, and I have him as a sleeper this week available, still surprisingly, in 77% of fantasy leagues. And the third and final running back I have as a sleeper this week is Joshua Kelly of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Kelly, we saw him be the backup once again. And this season, it's been a back-and-forth battle for the backup spot. Sony Michel or Joshua Kelly over here for this Charger team. But last week when Eckler left the game a little bit with injury, Joshua Kelly got the reins, 10 carries, 24 yards, and a touchdown and a catch for 7 yards. And I think in this game at Indianapolis that we're going to see, obviously, Eckler get a little bit of a rest in that ball game and not get that many downs, especially after banging up the shoulder a little bit. And it's a ball game where obviously I think this Charger team should take care of business. And it's a game where Joshua Kelly can maybe sneak a goal line touchdown in. So right now, available in still 96% of fantasy leagues here. He's definitely a running back you could use as a sleeper option, but I wouldn't expect much as well. So that's a few running backs I have as sleepers here for week 16 of the fantasy football season.